All right, so I have most of this equation written down. Okay, we're looking at an equation here, and it looks similar to the equation of a circle, except that I notice that I have a coefficient on one of the variables. So if I happen to have the same coefficient on both of them, it's actually still going to be a circle. But if I have different coefficients on x and y, then I know it's going to be an ellipse. Okay, so let's go ahead and complete the square and get this in the form of an ellipse. So I'm going to gather all my x's together. So 4x squared plus 24x plus y squared, oops, I almost wrote a plus there, so minus 2y, and then equals, we'll just pull that negative 21 over to the other side. Okay, so I actually can't complete the square with the coefficient, so the first thing I need to do is factor out that 4. So we'll have 4x squared plus 6x plus blank, close parentheses, plus, I don't have a coefficient to factor out here, so I'm just going to leave it as y squared minus 2y plus blank equals our negative 21, and then we're going to complete the square. All right, so I need to find an n value that is 6 divided by 2, so that's 3, and I'm going to add n squared to both sides, that's 9. Now I'm going to add that to both sides, but this 9 is inside of this parenthesis, so it's really a 4 times 9. It's really a 36. So I'm actually going to add 36 to the other side to compensate for the 9 times 4 is 36 I added on this side. Then for the y, our m value is negative 2 divided by 2, so that's negative 1. And so m squared is 1. I'm going to add 1. It's just 1 times 1 is 1, so I just add 1 on that side. Okay, so when we factor, we have 4 times x plus 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9, 3 plus 3 is 6. That's factored. And then y minus 1 squared. I'm just using the m value. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 1 times plus 1 is negative 2. And then equals, let's find out. I need negative 21 plus 36 plus 1, so 16. Okay, so we're working on getting the equation for an ellipse. We need, if I pull my formula sheet back over here, what I need to write the equation for ellipse here is I need it equal to 1. And so if I'm not equal to 1, I'm not going to be able to find a and b. So that's the first thing I need to find is what I need to divide by to get it equal to 1. And so we're going to divide everything here by 16. All right, so I need to equal to 1. And so on this side, our 4 and our 16 reduce. So I have x plus 3 squared over 4 plus y minus 1 squared over 16 equals 1. Okay, this is now in standard form for the ellipse. So I have my equation written, and I need to be able to identify all the pieces that I need to from it. So the first thing is the center. And so the center of the ellipse is HK, so opposites. H is going to be negative 3, K is going to be 1. So the center is negative 3, 1. Okay. Now I want to know the A values, B values, and if this is a vertical or a horizontal ellipse. Bigger denominator on Y. So that means this is going to have a vertical major axis. So our major axis is vertical. So the ellipse is going to be this type of shape where it's going to have, remember, that's the square of it, so it's going to have 4 and 2 in those two directions. Sorry, my mouse is in the way. 4 and 2 in those two directions. So our A value is 2 because this is A squared. Our B value is 4 because 4 squared is 16. Okay, so a few things that I know about this. I want to find the, at the center, I want to find the vertices and the foci, and then I can do the graph. Okay, so the vertices, so the vertices are going to be along the major axis 4 away. Okay, so our A value is 2, our B value is 4, and that's the bigger one, so our vertices are along the major axis. So they're 4 away. Y value, 4 away from the center of the y value. So I'm going to add 4 and subtract 4. So they are going to be at negative 3, comma 5, 1 plus 4. And they're going to be at negative 3, comma negative 3, 1 minus 4. Okay, so that's what I got. All right, and then I need to find c. So I know that c squared is b squared minus a squared. So it's 14 it's 14. It's not 14, it's 16 minus 4. I saw my 4, I don't know. 16 minus 4, that is b squared, that is a squared. So 16 minus 4 is 12. And so that means that c is the square root of 12. And so that is 4 times 3, so 2 square roots of 3. And so our focus is going to be along the major axis at a distance of 2 squared root of 3 up and down from the center. So that means that our foci, which are another piece I want to find, so I'm going to put them in blue. Our foci are at center, so negative 3 comma 1 plus 2 square root of 3, and at negative 3 comma 1 minus 2 square root of 3. So I've got my ellipse, I've got its center, vertices, and foci. Okay, so to make the accurate sketch of it, instead of trying to draw it on paper, I'm going to do it in decimals. So I have a graph here that had something from my parabola section. So I'm going to regraph what I've got. So I had the x plus 3 squared over 4 plus y minus 1 squared over 16 equals 1. And so this ellipse is supposed to have negative 3 comma 1 as its center. It's supposed to have vertices at negative 3 comma 5 and negative 3 comma negative 3, and those are the vertices. It's also supposed to have foci at negative 3 comma 1 plus 2 square root of 3 and negative 3 comma 1 minus 2 square root of 3. Notice I'm just drawing 2 points on the same line here with a comma in between them, so I can label them at the same time. These are the foci. Okay, so there's that ellipse. If you had a string that was the length of the radius of the major axis, double the major axis, and you connected it between these 2 points and then drew all the way around that string, then you would be able to trace this ellipse exactly.